That Open Meetings Act. We're complying.
That's
Good
right.
job, Andrew. Good job. The first test.
That's right. So now it means I can't make any bad jokes though, because then it'll be on the record, right? So.
Oh, there's no rule about that. They're encouraged. They're encouraged.
And Sky, welcome. Always good to have new hires get thrown right in. So exciting. Welcome to DDOT.
Thank you, Andrew.
Right. We'll just wait a couple more minutes. Oh, I got excited for a second. I saw a 313 number was calling in area code, so I was hoping, but that's okay. And now that it's 1:03, I think we can call this meeting to order. If I had a gavel, I would gavel it in. So just a note for everyone, this meeting is governed by the Open Meetings Act. And so if you have any questions or complaints that occur during this meeting, you can go to the Office of Open Government. It's OpenGov Office at dc.gov. That's posted in the agenda as well. And also, as you may see the little red button that's kind of flashing in and out, this meeting is being recorded and there will be a transcript. And so that will all be posted publicly on the Demois website following this meeting. So with those administrative pieces in order, I just want to say welcome to this quarter's AV Working Group meeting. My name is Andrew DeBraccio. I'm the new Senior Policy Advisor. I'm going to say new for as long as I can, take a page out of Rick's book. The new Senior Policy Advisor at the Deputy Mayor for Operations and Infrastructure. And so I have a variety of kind of roles under my portfolio, and one of this is kind of overseeing this AV working group. And one of the most I think one of the best things you can do when you're kind of thrown into like a new task is to lean on the experts. And so I'm really glad that we have Catherine and Stephanie from DDOT here. They have been invaluable in getting me up to speed, and they also have some updates to share. And so for the first kind of discussion topic agenda item we have, we're just going to give an update on rulemaking. And for that, I'm going to kick it over to Catherine. Catherine, take it away.
Hi, just a reminder, I'm Catherine Kaufman. I'm a policy analyst at DDOT. I've been helping to write the autonomous vehicles regulations with Stephanie's team. So the rulemaking is not out yet. We are a little bit slower than we were hoping that it could be out, but it is still definitely making progress. We're hoping for early 2024. The holidays, things move a little bit slower, but I'm hoping that early 2024 is a realistic timeline for the proposed rulemaking to be published. Once the proposed rulemaking is published, there will be an opportunity for public comment. It'll be a 30-day period, so we'll definitely let you all know when that's out. And then we'll have to move through a final rulemaking process before the rulemaking will be in effect. So that could take a few months, depending on how many comments we get, what kind of changes are needed, things like that. So that's the timeline we're looking at right now. It's difficult to predict, just given, you know, how many people need to review and things like that. But yeah, we're moving along.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so in this holiday season of giving, right? That is a nice little gift of an update on the rulemaking process. And that, Rick, you said, I could make terrible jokes, so that's my attempt at a terrible joke. But thank you, Catherine. And there will be an opportunity for kind of an open discussion at the end, but just to make sure that we kind of hit our agenda items, I'm just going to move it along to talk about the AV testbed. And to that, I'm going to kick it over to Stephanie. Stephanie?
Thanks, Andrew. Stephanie Dock. I manage the innovation division at DDOT, which amongst other things exists to run the autonomous vehicle program that we were mandated to, as we are mandated to do by the autonomous vehicle testing legislation that was updated. So I think most of you have seen me before or talked with me. I think I may have made passing reference to this, or at least talked a little bit about it the last time we met, but we are moving forward with plans to develop what we're calling an AV test bed. It's not a test bed in the truest sense, in that, we're not, it would be an area for enhanced engagement and monitoring of autonomous vehicles with an eye towards supporting both agency goals and industry goals of understanding how AVs really fit into our environment and what that means for understanding of autonomous vehicles and how they're evolving and where they could go in the future. So that project is federally funded from DDOT's research funds this year. Our partners are George Washington University, University of Washington. The Washington linkage on the other coast is because Seattle is also interested in a similar idea and pursuing it. So we're trying to link up our efforts there. And then we have the Southwest Business Improvement District, part of that. And we're using kind of their zone as well as Capitol Riverfront as the focus area for the test bed. They have a mobility innovation district that the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development helped to seed about a year or so ago. And so we're trying to also kind of leverage the opportunities presented by that. The project is federally funded. It means that the part where the feds have not actually passed a full year budget is holding us back. Like many projects at DDOT right now that are federally funded, we're really throttled back on how much we can get going because we don't have access to all of our money for the year. So fingers crossed that before January 15th, they will decide on a full year funding bill and all the money, the doors will open and the obligations will flow and we will be able to get going. But we're beginning to work on that, kind of moving the scoping pieces along to be ready and to be in place, and looking forward to coming back to this group with that information once we do. We have a couple other related activities to that. We're actively looking at some of the questions around digital infrastructure, which is a term that U.S. Department of Transportation is using to refer to the kind of the digital description of what actually exists out in our infrastructure, as well as some of the connected vehicle type applications. And we are very interested in how information about what we have on what's happening in our city gets conveyed out to, amongst other things, autonomous vehicle operators, so that they are able to respond appropriately. And we're in conversations with several other cities, but we are looking at a grant opportunity that is due February 2nd for the TAIN. Got letters. I can try and remember what it stands for, but it's essentially Advancing Transportation Technology and Innovation. And so for that program, we're looking at putting in a grant application that would build out the larger version. The test bed, we have funding for the pilot of that, so just a couple intersections, and to really prove out the camera technology that we're looking at doing and really lay the groundwork for the community engagement components. But the hope was that we would either through our own local budgeting or through grants be able to find the money to do a broader version of this. So this is our first attempt to get the feds to pay for it with their grant money. Hopefully we'll be successful, but we're orienting it not just on the testbed component, but on a larger series of questions around digital infrastructure. I see that we have FEMS on the line, which is great because having talked with many of our peer cities, there's a lot of efforts to kind of link the computer-aided dispatching systems to be able to pass information about activities that might be occurring on the roadway so that there is, for example, the less interference with fire department activities, and that they're not entering active firefighting scenes, but kind of AV companies exist in a digital space. They are very, very good at managing data. And so we're trying to think about how to leverage that. So I think we'll be coming back to the group some on that. But all to know that more to share. And if all goes well, by February 2nd, I will have a grant application that we could potentially also share out to the group, because we didn't have enough going on with the rulemaking and everything else. So happy to answer any questions immediately on that. And then Andrew, I have one that I forgot to put on the agenda, but I don't know if it makes sense for me to jump in. I have several items in here, so I can do it whenever on the deployment work.
Well, I say if you're if you're open to taking questions now on your update, we can pause for a little bit, and then we can go right into what kind of just popped into your head, and then we'll go right back to the agenda items afterwards. So anyone have any questions on Stephanie's updates thus far? All right, Stephanie, the floor is back to you.
So as part of, well, I'll do the agenda item that's on there because it kind of relates to the engagement component.
I had Stephanie, I'll pave the way for you to continue on to the agenda items.
So we are now a member of the Public Sector Advisory Council for the Partners for Automated Vehicle Education. We're working on getting DFHV to also be part of that. I think DDOT's logo is on the site now. We'll DFHV soon or in time. But as part of that, PAVE reached out. They had actually done this last year in the region, but didn't connect directly with us because we weren't as strongly connected yet. And PAVE, thanks Andrew for the paving pun, does a lot of different outreach activities. They're really a group that works across the industry and public sector and academia to really kind of advance the understanding of what AVs are. And ultimately, they're definitely a pro AV group. But we think this outreach component is really important. And one thing they have done with support from, I think in this region, it's STEER, somebody that's involved in AV development, is a scholarship essay contest. So an essay contest, high school, juniors and high school, I think juniors and seniors can write an essay that then potentially gets them a scholarship for college of their choice. And so we are looking at sponsoring, at least in name, as well as in outreach efforts, the scholarship. It would not be district dollars, but we would be supporting the effort. So we're moving forward on that, trying to make sure one of the components, it's still getting approvals, so not 100%, but even if we don't end up sponsoring, we'd still make sure to share the information out to this group. And we'll also be looking to get out to DCPS and the charter schools, particularly through their STEM programs, to get the word out that there is there will be some sort of scholarship competition. I think last year it was all the students who won were in Virginia. So let's change that this year and get some folks from DC putting in some good thoughts on what could autonomous vehicles mean in the future for us. So that's the PAVE update. And then my last piece is again looking towards the future. In the council legislation that provided us with the updated AV rules and legislation, there was a requirement that DDOT provide a report to council with recommendations for deployment, regulation, and legislation. We don't have the testing happening yet, so but we're still trying to move forward with our requirement to do this because they wanted it within 1 year, which is pretty quick when you don't have a testing program stood up yet. But so what we're opting to run with is taking really kind of delving in on a couple topics that we think some consultants could help us with. The big one being looking at the policy levers, or policy levers as we're calling them. The things that our group has already defined in the AV working group as our objectives for how autonomous vehicles could support the district's goals. How do we want to see AVs come into the district? We have those statements that we had put together in 2018 or so that talk about that. And so if we wanted to operationalize those into the legislation in the future, what would we recommend that council do? And some of these things are somewhat straightforward. There's a lot of, there's a sustainability objective. Electric vehicles are an important part of that. Would you think about some sort of requirement around AVs being EVs? But at the same time, there's already a huge amount of movement within the auto industry towards EVs. So therefore, do we not need to be requiring that AVs be electric vehicles? Because it's already going to go there. We don't need to go messing with other mandates that are already in process. And so it's that series, that's like a very small microcosm, but it's a series of those activities that we would like to think through. What does it mean for the future that we would like to see with autonomy in the district? and how would we recommend that council move forward with any future deployment legislation? And what might that recommend to us? And so just for awareness, one, if you know consultants that might be interested in working on this, the RFP will be heading out on the street, hopefully in the next month. In that laundry list of things that we're trying to get through, I'm like 90% of the way through the scope. And so we will hopefully have that out soon, and we'll be, so if you, we'll make sure to share it with the group. Folks want to see what we're proposing to have them look at. That report will also have them helping to look at some of the data and safety components, specifically that within both what we can learn from what might be happening in testing and what we're already going to be requiring once the regs are finalized within that structure, and how we might think about how that was framed and how that might inform how we frame the deployment recommendations. So that was the other piece. So consultants, and then the second piece is just to know that coming forward into these meetings next year, so Andrew, a little bit of a segue into your next topic, that we will definitely be coming back to this group for feedback on that process, because you all are critical partners in all of this. So we won't be only coming to you in that moment. I think we're thinking about how we do outreach. We're asking the consultants to think about how they do outreach as part of this project. But at a bare minimum, they will come to the AD working group at least once to talk about some of the policy levers that they're looking at and what this group kind of, you know, poke holes and provide guidance and see where that is. But we're also looking at having them do broader industry outreach, or targeted stakeholder engagement inside DC government as well as inside DDOT. So more to come. But yeah, I feel like everything I say is like, you know, in like a month, you'll be able to see something, but eventually we will have things in front of all of you.
I think it's exciting. And you know, I think with an RFP, with scholarship opportunities, you know, that's opportunities for money, right? Like that's I think really important. And yeah, so I guess we're just setting ourselves up for a very busy 2024. And so with that in mind, kind of just a final agenda item, just really briefly. So I'm proposing that this group reconvene. Again, we're going to meet quarterly, and we're going to pick, I'm thinking the second Friday of the third month of each quarter makes the most sense. So that would be March 15th, same time frame, 1 to 2 o'clock, and then June 14th, again, 1 to 2 o'clock. And so, but one note on that is if we do have any kind of substantial updates to provide to this group. So for instance, from Catherine's point, you know, she mentioned rulemaking early in calendar year 24. If that happens early, let's, you know, in January, February, again, if, you know, we may try to move this meeting up just so that we have the opportunity to, you know, live out the mission of this working group and discuss and make sure that all the kind of input is received. And so again, you know, just again, March 15th, June 14th, but it may be sooner than that within each quarter, just depending on, you know, when we have updates. And as Stephanie said, we're setting ourselves up for a very busy 2024, which is crazy to think that it's in what, like 16 days. I hope you guys have all finished your holiday shopping. But regardless, you know, it's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of work to be done in the next year, and we're excited to continue to share that part out. So with that, these are our agenda items. I am of the mind of not keeping folks longer than we need to, but I do want to ensure, as I mentioned at the top, that we have a space for an open discussion. And so if you have any questions, comments, concerns, holiday puns, pave puns, please feel free to take yourself off of mute and ask away.
Not a pave pun per se, but this is Faye, everyone, Senior Policy Advisor at DFHV. Our logo is also now up on PAVE's webpage. So if you click on DDOT, they combine DDOT and DFHV. And I think I did. Yes, I added a link to where our both logos are up on their page.
Yes, I saw that in the chat. Thank you, Faye. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Leah.
Yes, I was hoping to jump in with a quick clarifying question. Hi, everyone. I'm a PhD candidate at George Washington University studying autonomous vehicle impacts. I'm happy to be on the meeting today and would love to stay connected. For the policy levers, I was wondering if that is about operation of services, kind of regulation of like under taxi regs or ride hailing regs, or is that more about certification processes of the actual vehicle design for operation on the vehicles? I was just curious about what types of policies you were looking at.
Yeah, I think we're probably looking at more of the operational components, but with the safety and the data elements, particularly the safety one, that would also look at the, like, how do we determine that the vehicle is safe enough, which is an ongoing question. And how do we ensure safe operation through all of that, which obviously the industry has a huge role in helping with that. So it's really how do we match up with what's going on there, as well as what's continuing to evolve in the field. I think we'll be tackling that with like a certain, I guess in a sense, a grain of salt, recognizing that I think long-term, we all expect some level of federal activity on this, what exactly that looks like. I think the general stance is an expectation that when it comes to actually saying that the vehicle is safe enough, we're all kind of hoping that eventually something between industry and the feds comes together to kind of answer that. But to your point about ride-hailing operations, I think there will be and other aspects like that. As we go into deployment, many of the things that the vehicles might be doing begin to overlap with existing programs that we already have or structures that we have in place. And so it will also be thinking about like, what are the ones that would be changed in, and this is where the conversations with the affected agencies are really important. What are the ones that would be specific to AVs, and which are ones that are kind of like opening a bigger question around how we oversee some of these services, or into spaces that maybe we haven't done a lot of oversight. Some of the delivery space, we do a lot of control on the curbside, oversized, overweight vehicles we deal with, but we haven't done a huge amount of kind of monitoring of that. So there's things that overlap, and some that are going to be too big and outside of what we can do. Something like, congestion or pricing across the whole district. That, if it's not AV specific, it's beyond the scope of what this project. I mean, we can reference that we want that, and there was the study done back in 2018, 20-ish, that DCST helped to run. It's on our website. That was a scenario evaluation of what might come in the future. Kind of looked at 4 versions of what might come and looked at the impacts. And a lot of the recommendations coming out of that, there's a whole set of them, for example, congestion pricing, that are beyond what we could scope into our recommendations for AV legislation specifically. We would have to say, well, it might be a good idea to overall think about the role of congestion pricing in dealing with the potential negative impacts on congestion in the district, but how we would do that, but what the exact nature, the piece that this project would be able to then more say something more about would be specifically, are there things that would apply to AVs in that structure? But we'd really be looking at the stuff that they could build into the AV legislation that is more targeted to that, and where are the ones that we just have to say, this is not the thing you deal with in the AV space. This is a bigger question that you have to address and sort out, and how do we handle that? So it's also a little bit of the parsing of like what's appropriate to AV and what is a bigger question.
And Faye, do you want to add something?
I'm trying to unmute myself. No, not to that. And Stephanie, this is great. Thank you. And DFHB and DDOT are in discussions on frequent basis. So I know that Leah brought up the for-hire space, and so Stephanie and I and Eric talk amongst each other, various touch points. No, I wanted to introduce one of our colleagues in the other jurisdictions, and provide a little bit of a background on how we connected. Leah, Angie from Arlington County, Eric and I went to the IATR conference, the International Association of For-Hire Regulators. The topic of the conference was AV and EV in the for-hire space specifically this year. And we met Angie from Arlington County, who works in the sort of micromobility for-hire space for Arlington County. So asked Angie that we mentioned to Angie about this working group, and she asked if she could be invited, and we invited Angie to the working group. Welcome, Angie.
Hey, thank you, everyone. As Faye just mentioned, I attended this conference. I met everyone there, and I found out what you guys were doing. And it's really interesting because Arlington is, trying to figure things, and I was listening to you, Stephanie. Actually, our board is going to pass a legislative package tomorrow and one of them is create a pilot program to allow ABs to do some testing as similar as yours. You know, for me, it's a huge thing because I've been trying to push this, but I want to bring you to reality. I mean, it is in the package. Arlington's going to vote in favor. But then we would need either a senator or someone to carry this on for, and we're asking for a study, you know, just moving the needle. We're in Virginia, just moving the needle, just one little baby step at a time. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you for that, Angie, and thank you, Faye. Leah, do you have any follow-ups?
Leia, I know it's
Leia.
spelled like Leah, so it's confusing. No, thank you for the clarification. That's really useful to hear.
Fantastic. And thank you, Leia. Now, do we have any other, again, questions or comments from the group here? Okay. Hearing none and seeing nothing in the chat, I think I'm going to use my hypothetical, metaphorical, fake gavel and gavel us out. So I just want to say thank you again to everyone for hopping on this call. Again, March 15th, it'll posted publicly on our AV Working Group website, which is on the DEMWA website. And again, if we decide that there's a significant reason to provide an earlier meeting for our next meeting, I will be sure to email that out to everyone and, of course, update that publicly. So thank you again, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season and a very happy start to the new year. A new year that, as we all stated, is going to be quite busy for the folks here on this call, and it's exciting. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful holiday season. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
Andrew.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.